You give him passage through the Papal States in exchange for not sacking Rome, which is frankly the best deal available. Afterward, your cardinals look at you with expressions that are hard to interpret. You've just made a deal with a foreign king that undermines the political sovereignty of every Italian state that was counting on you. You did it because you had no other option. You also did it because Cesare needs Charles's support to carve out a territory in central Italy. Both things are true simultaneously, and you're no longer surprised by how often the political and the personal turn out to point in the same direction when you're the one doing the pointing. The theological crimes are harder to file away than the political ones. Nepotism, you understand? Every pope has done it, every prince has done it. It's simply a word for trusting the people whose loyalty you can verify. Simone, selling church offices, Brasqueri feels transactional. But the church has always needed money, and the alternative is raising taxes in the Papal States, which causes riots, which you've already dealt with twice this year. These things you can categorize and move past. But what happens in 1497 is harder. You have reasons. He's destabilizing Florence, he's calling you the Antichrist in public sermons, he's gathered a following that is genuinely threatening to the order of the church in northern Italy. All of that is true. It's also true that he's been saying things about you specifically that are accurate. And that accuracy is a kind of power you need to neutralize before it spreads. The excommunication goes through in the spring. The execution goes through in May. You sign the paperwork. He is hanged and burned in the Piazza della Signoria in Florence. 15,000 people watch. You do not watch. You are in the palace. You are signing other paperwork. Marcus comes to you that night. He doesn't knock. He opens your chamber doors and sits in the chair across from you without asking. He's been crying, which Marcus almost never does, and seeing it creates a sensation in your chest that you immediately tried to suppress because you can't afford it right now. He doesn't say Savonarola was right. He doesn't accuse you of anything. He just sits there and eventually says, very quietly, that he still believes in you, that he thinks the person he knew at 22 is still somewhere inside all of this, that he's been praying for you every morning since you were elected. You tell him you're fine. You tell him the Savonarola situation was complicated, which it was. You tell him to get some sleep. He leaves. You sit in the dark for a long time. The next morning, you issue 3 new indulgences, appoint your nephew to a bishopric he is spectacularly unqualified for, and authorize Cesare to begin military operations in Romagna. The day fills up. The machinery runs. You are infallible, technically. The doctrine is 200 years old, and it means that when you speak on matters of faith from the throne of Peter, you cannot be wrong. You've noticed that the definition of what counts as a matter of faith keeps expanding the more power you accumulate. You don't see Marcus for 6 weeks after that. He's still in Trastevere, still in his small room. You know this because you asked. Your son Juan is murdered in June of 1497, pulled from the Tiber with 9 stab wounds. You don't know who did it. Cesare knows. You suspect Cesare knows. You ask him directly, and he looks at you with eyes that are very calm and says he had nothing to do with it, and you decide in that moment to believe him because the alternative is a door you cannot walk through and still function. You lock yourself in your chamber for 3 days. You don't eat. You don't receive ambassadors. Somewhere in the second day you think, this is what it costs. Not the money, not the compromises. This. The thing that was taken from the Tiber at midnight. This is the price of what you built, and you built it. And now you are sitting on the floor of the Apostolic Palace at 67 years old, trying to remember what you actually believed when you were young enough to believe anything. On the 3rd day, you get up. You wash your face. You put on the white vestments. You go back to work. There is no other option. There is never another option when you are this deep in. Marcus is at your door the morning of the 4th day. He has bread and a cup of wine, not ceremonial wine, just wine, the kind from the kitchen. He sits across from you and doesn't say anything, and you eat in silence, and for 20 minutes, it feels like the seminary, like 40 years ago, like before any of this existed. Then you pick up a letter from the Sforza family, and the day begins. You live 6 more years. They are years of Cesare consolidating power, of Borgia influence spreading through the church, like ink in water, of your face appearing on frescoes you didn't commission and your name attached to buildings you'll never visit. Rome makes you a myth before you're dead. That's what Rome does. It takes the person and turns them into something useful. You die in August of 1503. The exact cause is disputed. Poison is mentioned, as it always is in Rome, though the heat was brutal that summer, and you were 72 years old, and you had been working 18-hour days for 11 years. Your body is laid in state in St. Peter's. The ceremony is elaborate. Cardinals come from across Europe. Ambassadors file past. A bishop reads a statement about your contributions to the church. Marcus is there. He stands at the back. He's wearing the same brown cassock he's worn for 30 years. He doesn't approach the body. He doesn't speak to anyone. He stands there for a long time looking at you, and you can't see his face, and you don't know what's on it. And that is the last thought you have. The church survives you by 500 years and counting. It reforms eventually. It corrects. It moves forward the way institutions do. Slowly, incompletely, with enormous resistance at every turn. 14 years after your death, a German monk named Martin Luther nails 95 theses to a church door in Wittenberg. He is angry about indulgences. He is angry about exactly what you built, systematized and scaled. The argument he starts splits the Western Church permanently. Marcus dies in 1511. He is still in Trastevere. He never took the larger room. He served there until the week before the end, which is the kind of detail that would have meant something to you once.